time will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication.
What happens when two regional rivals stop fighting in the shadows and begin testing each other in the open? And more importantly, who gets pulled in when that line is crossed? Iran and Israel have been adversaries for decades, but what we are witnessing now is not just another exchange of threats. It is a slow-burning confrontation involving global powers, Gulf states, missile systems, proxy networks, and strategic calculations that stretch far beyond Tehran and Tel Aviv. So here's the real question. Is this contained tension or the early stage of a much wider regional confrontation? Let's break it down. For years, Iran and Israel have fought what analysts call a shadow war. That means covert operations, cyber attacks, intelligence missions, and strikes carried out indirectly.
Tola was no longer anymore. This is what he said, according to Aisha Hasni with Fox News. This morning, we have destroyed the compound of the tyrant Khamenei, many of the signs showing that he is no longer. That is exactly what he said in his speech. We have just been informed by Fox News confirming that Iran's supreme leader, Khamenei, has now been killed in these strikes.
Through proxy forces. Iran supports groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and armed factions in Syria and Iraq. Israel has repeatedly targeted Iranian weapons shipments, military infrastructure, and key commanders in the region. But why are these two states so fundamentally opposed? At its core, the rivalry is strategic and ideological. Iran positions itself as a leader of resistance against Israel and Western influence in the Middle East. Israel views Iran's regional expansion and nuclear ambitions as an existential threat, not a political inconvenience, but a direct threat to its national survival. Now pause for a moment and think about this. If you were in Israel's position, would you wait for a rival to strengthen militarily, or would you act early to limit that threat? This is the calculation that shapes Israeli strategy. Over the past decade, Iran has expanded its missile capabilities and deepened its influence across Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen. This network of alliances and armed groups gives Tehran leverage without always engaging directly. It allows Iran to pressure Israel and U.S. interests while maintaining a degree of plausible deniability. But Israel has not stayed passive. Through targeted airstrikes, cyber operations, and intelligence campaigns, Israel has sought to disrupt Iran's supply chains and prevent advanced weapons from reaching Hezbollah. These strikes, often carried out in Syria, are part of what Israeli officials describe as a campaign to prevent strategic encirclement. And this is where the United States enters the picture. The U.S. is Israel's closest military ally. American military bases are positioned throughout the Gulf region. U.S. naval forces patrol key waterways like the Strait of Hormuz, a critical global oil transit route. Any direct confrontation between Iran and Israel risks pulling American forces into escalation. Now consider this. If American bases are targeted, does Washington stay defensive or respond decisively? That uncertainty alone changes the strategic equation. The UAE also plays a significant role in this evolving landscape. Through normalization agreements with Israel, the UAE has strengthened economic and security ties with Tel Aviv. At the same time, it maintains cautious diplomatic engagement with Iran. The Gulf states are walking a delicate line. They benefit from stability and trade. They do not want a regional war disrupting energy exports or threatening infrastructure. Yet they are deeply aware that any missile exchange between Iran and Israel could spill into their airspace. And we have already seen moments where drones and missiles launched in regional conflicts cross multiple borders before interception. So here's another question for you. Do you think Gulf states can remain neutral if escalation intensifies, or would they be forced to take clearer sides? The nuclear issue further complicates matters. Israel has consistently stated it will not allow Iran to develop nuclear weapons capability. Iran insists its program is peaceful. Diplomatic negotiations over the years have stalled, resumed, and stalled again. But behind every diplomatic headline lies a military contingency plan. If Israel believes diplomacy has failed, it faces a difficult choice: strike Iranian facilities directly or continue containment through covert means. Either option carries consequences. A direct strike could trigger retaliation not just from Iran, but from allied groups across the region. Missile barrages, drone swarms, cyber attacks, all are part of modern hybrid warfare in the Middle East. And yet, despite the intensity of rhetoric, both sides have historically shown caution. There is a difference between signaling strength and crossing a threshold that leads to uncontrollable escalation. So what makes the current moment different? It is the frequency and visibility of exchanges, the speed of missile technology, the involvement of global powers, and the fragile political climates within each country. Domestic politics often influence foreign policy decisions. Leaders facing pressure at home sometimes take stronger positions abroad. That dynamic adds unpredictability. At the same time, global economic stakes are high. Energy markets react instantly to regional instability. Shipping lanes become risk zones, insurance costs rise, investors hesitate. This is not just a regional rivalry, it's a geopolitical pressure point. Now imagine a scenario where a missile strike causes significant civilian casualties on either side. Public opinion would harden, diplomatic space would shrink, retaliation cycles could accelerate rapidly. Do you believe leaders in the region are prioritizing deterrence or preparing for something bigger? That's the strategic dilemma. The United States continues to emphasize deterrence and regional stability. Israel emphasizes preemption and security. Iran emphasizes resistance and sovereignty. The UAE emphasizes stability and economic continuity. 4 actors, 4 strategic priorities, 1 volatile region. Yet despite the tension, full-scale war is not inevitable. In fact, many analysts argue that all parties understand the catastrophic costs of open conflict. That awareness creates restraint, but also constant brinkmanship. Brinkmanship is dangerous. It relies on the assumption that both sides know when to stop. History shows that miscalculations happen, communication failures happen, intelligence errors happen. And when they do, escalation can move faster than diplomacy. So as tensions rise, the real question is not simply who will strike next, it is who controls the escalation ladder. Because once that ladder is climbed too quickly, stepping down becomes far more difficult. Iran versus Israel is not just a headline, it's a layered confrontation shaped by ideology, strategy, alliances, technology, and perception. The US and the UAE are not passive observers, they are part of the broader security architecture of the region. The coming months will likely bring more signaling, more warnings, more defensive posturing. Whether that transforms into sustained conflict depends on decisions made behind closed doors. And that is where the true red line lies. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you believe this tension will remain contained, or are we moving toward a wider regional confrontation? Comment below, share your perspective, and stay informed, because in the Middle East, today's tension can become tomorrow's turning point. This is Redline Middle East.